riches, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches, rags to riches.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here to talk about Detroit Lions undrafted free agent signing Amos, the safety out of Virginia, and James Madison. Hopefully you guys like that little intro. If you're wondering why we played that song over it, it's because that is the song that apparently he said if he was going to sing karaoke, he would sing that song. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So let's get it started.
Up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Yeah! He's the GOAT! Oh, there's nobody! And welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're talking about another UDFA signing by the Detroit Lions this offseason as I continue to work through these guys and learn about all of them. You know, that's the goal, to learn about all these UDFA signings. They go very under the radar when you make these signings, and sometimes you just kind of forget about them. But every once in a while, some of them make a team. Some serve an impact. Some serve big impacts. So that's what we're continuing to do. We've done this with a lot of the players that we've signed so far as UDFAs, but not all yet. And today, I wanted to talk about the safety out of Virginia. Now, this safety is quickly becoming my favorite UDFA signing. It's up there. I can't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. And I think he has a very legitimate shot to make the team when I look at some of our other safeties. I mean, he's going to be very good competition to some other guys that I've seen because there's so much that he can bring to the table. The way I described him personally was jack of all trades, but I'm not sure if he's a master of one thing yet. I'm not sure if there's something in his game where I say that right there, boom, that aspect of his game is where he's going to dominate. I'm not sure if I see that. I don't know exactly what that is. However, I do know that he can do so many different things on the field. He can do so many things at a high level. And that's not only on the defense side of the ball, it's also on special teams. So it gives him a very legitimate shot to make the team. He has good length. He's got good size. There's just a lot of good things here for Amos. And it would be pretty cool to see him make the team. And I would say this is the player to watch out for. Don't be shocked if he does make the team for the Lions as UDFA. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. This is a 6'1", 185-pound safety out of Virginia. As you can see, I also have James Madison University on there as well because he started his collegiate career at James Madison. He was with James Madison through 2019, but then he decided to transfer to Virginia because I guess FCS was delayed because of COVID. So he decided to transfer. He went to Virginia. That way, you know, was on time. Now he's playing against the FBS opponents. He's in a good conference, and he played well. He played well for Virginia. It took a little while to get some of the footing there, but he did play well when he had the opportunities. All right, it wasn't like every play he was on the field. He did rotate a little bit. He started 5 of the 10 games that he played in, but he played pretty well for the most part that season. James Madison, if you don't know, in FCS, they are one of the most dominant teams, and they have been for years. I mean, every year, this team is one of the best in FCS. So, you know, all the years that he was there, that team was competing for championships, okay? That is a fantastic FCS school. But then he goes to Virginia, and he plays well. Let's dive into some statistics and his pro day numbers before we start to get to on the film things that I like, and just so many different assets that he can bring to the game. So statistically speaking, in 2019, which was his final year at James Madison University, he had 57 total tackles playing the safety position, playing the free safety position, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups, 3 blocked kicks. All right, so you can see the special teams impact there as a defensive player. 3 blocked kicks. Very impressive. Now, let's add to that a little bit. Let me talk about how much of a special teams impact this guy really has. Not only does he have these blocked kicks, he has actually 4 in his career. I think he has 4 in his career with James Madison. He also is second all-time in James Madison history punt return yards. Second all time with 5 career punt return touchdowns. I think it's 5 career touchdowns. So fantastic stuff there. He is a threat when it's punted his way. And the Lions are trying to figure out who their punt returner is for next season. I mean, we have a lot of guys that could be our punt and or kick returner. It looks like we have a lot of guys that could be our kick returner, but we're not still exactly sure who that's going to be, losing Jamal Agnew this offseason. I mean, there's guys like that Khalif Raymond that could take that role. There's guys that could do it, but we're still not 100% sure who that's going to be. But Amos, with the experience and the playmaking that he's had as a punt returner, that's one thing that could be a very, very intriguing option for the Detroit Lions, and it could give him a better shot at making the team. Because remember when Jamal Agnew was here, and before he moved to offense, I mean, he wasn't getting reps defensively. He was our special teams guy, and that really helped him keep a roster spot. And that could be something that benefits Amos, not only as a punt returner, but also in terms of blocking kicks. I mean, that's a skill that he has and that he brings to the table. And special teams is important. It can be game-changing. We've seen that. Firsthand, how much special teams can change a game. But not only that, the Lions rookie minicamp, they went through through these special teams drills, so they may have got to see a little bit of what Amos can bring to the table. But just the film alone will tell you what he can bring to the table. He's a reliable punt returner that can make guys miss with the ball in his hands. Now, he goes to Virginia for 2020. Like I said, he plays in 10 games. He starts in 5. He racks up 46 total tackles, 2 interceptions, and some sacks, some tackles for loss in that season. Now, his pro day numbers, they were kind of difficult to find. I've seen some different answers, but one of the trusted sites that I usually use said that he ran a 4.58 40, even though he said a couple years ago he ran a 4.5 flat. 4.58 40, 11 bench press reps, 6.98 second 3-cone drill, pretty good actually, and 32.25-inch arms, which is above average for his position. So you can see the long arms once again there. His vertical wasn't insane. His broad jump was solid as well, but pretty good pro day numbers. I mean, nothing that's like, whoa, mind-blowing there, but you know, pretty good pro day numbers. It's all around solid. There's no like big weak parts in those pro day numbers. But then you get into on the field, and there's just so many things that he can do for your team. So let's get into some of the film here for D'Angelo Amos. And I want to first start off with the position that I think he played the most at was James Madison University. When he went to Virginia, it seemed to change a little bit to more of a box safety type of cornerback type of role. But at James Madison, he definitely played a lot of the safety position, some deep safety, strong safety. He can kind of split between those two. Can play split safety looks, can be your deep safety, can play the center field position. He can do all of that. So let's start back there first. We're not talking box, we're not talking corner, we're not talking edge. At the safety spot, both safety spots here. First off, as that free safety, the guy that could drop deep, play the center fielder position to cover one safety, he has that ability. And when you look at what the Lions have at the safety position, you ask yourself who can do that. Dean Marlowe can do it. We saw him do it with the Bills, and he didn't do too bad when he had opportunity. It wasn't a lot of experience there, but you know, he wasn't too bad at that spot. Tracy Walker, Will Harris, they both have done it in the past. They're not great at it, but they both have done it. And D'Angelo Amos can also do that, which helps a lot, especially in split safety looks when, for example, one safety goes down, he takes a tight end, or he slides down on a slot receiver, he slides into the box, gives the Lions some versatility with what they can ask him to do as a safety, because he can kind of slide around both to the strong safety spot and also to that free safety spot. As a deep safety, he does have some of that deep speed. It's not great speed, but it's good enough speed to play that spot, because you have to cover a lot of ground. You have to cover a lot of grounds from that spot on the field, and he can do that. He does have enough speed to do that. He also brings a feisty, and he plays with a little bit of an edge. I should say that. He plays like a guy that would play for Dan Campbell, someone that wants to bite kneecaps. He plays with that edge to his game, which leads to big hits, pops, jarring the ball loose. He does it at every spot, but it's definitely something that helps him a ton. But I think his best trait, honestly, as a deep safety is not the speed. It's not the big hits. He does have good length, but to me, I think his best trait here is his route recognition. And I could tell this guy watches a lot of film. He said it's one of his hobbies is watching film, and you could tell this guy is very smart. He knows a lot of tendencies. He knows a lot of things that are happening before they happen, and he can predict and jump on a lot of routes. His route recognition is superb. All right, you watch him play, he can do a lot of that. So from the deep safety spot, it allows him to predict things, jump on things, come down and make plays. Now, sometimes that will lead him astray, lead him out of position a little bit, because he'll trust himself a little bit more than watching the quarterback, and it'll force him out of spots. But at the next level, quarterbacks, they're very smart, right? They look guys off all the time. So you also have to be able to recognize routes. You have to recognize concepts and predict a little bit, jump to make plays. And he can do that for sure. All right, so sometimes he would get himself out of position because he would trust that a little bit too much. Next level quarterbacks are going to be looking you off all the time. So when you watch him play, when you watch that route recognition, his ability, and that's not only from the deep safety position, it's from all the positions, but his ability to do that is probably my favorite trait. But like I said, he's got good length, he's got solid deep speed, and he's a pretty big hitter. He's also a very reliable tackler in open space. Okay, you got someone going deep, your last line of defense, you can trust him to make the tackle. He usually gets glow. He's a very good form tackler everywhere. I mean, everywhere on the field, he's a good form tackler. He doesn't, throw his body at people and kind of close his eyes and duck his head. He's a really good tackler. The only thing here is that sometimes running backs, bigger running backs, he realizes he's not going to be able to tackle him high, so he goes low, as he should, but sometimes he gets a little too low, he gets to the ankles, and then at that point, obviously, they can slip out of his arms. And he flips his hips from the deep safety position. It's not bad, but he does play a little high, so it's not super quick, but there are a lot of things to like from this position. Now, the thing that I don't love from this spot is coming down on routes. He has really good length to do it, which is something that you can improve upon, but right now, he doesn't seem to play extremely well through a receiver. He plays way better in front of a receiver, but behind, playing through a receiver, making plays on the football behind a play, does not seem to be his best trait, all right? It seems like he can get himself in position, he can jump on routes, he'll, pick it up and he'll start running with it, and it looks beautiful, but then he can't capitalize and finish off that play by getting a hand on the football, playing through the receiver. He doesn't do that very very well. So that's the one part that could be improved, but with his height, with his length, it's something that you would believe that with good coaching, it could be improved to make plays on the football in that area, because he's good underneath, but playing from behind, it's not the best spot for him. But then, like I said, he gives you that ability to slide over to the strong safety spot. He can come down, he can play man-to-man coverage, he can slide into the box, he can blitz, he can do pretty much everything you would ask him for. So when he went to Virginia, to me, he played a lot more of that strong safety, box safety, edge, pass rusher type of cornerback, slot corner type of role. He played more of that role than the deep safety role like he did at James Madison. And maybe that's because they were a little worried about his speed. I'm not 100% sure. But regardless, that's a little bit more what his role was. And that could be his role at the next level with the ability to play deep if he has to. He's not a pure Malik Hooker center fielder, cover one safety, but he can do it. It's like he gives you the ability. That's why I say jack of all trades. I'm not sure if he's a master of one thing yet, but he does bring a lot to the table. So the first thing, as I mentioned, is that he could slide down in man-to-man coverage. And this ability is tough to find because I was watching a D. Marlowe film. I didn't like it. They really didn't do this with him. They didn't like to slide him into man-to-man coverage. That is not a spot for him. However, Amos can do that, and something that Virginia utilized for him a ton. All right, now most of the time here, man-to-man coverage, he could slide over against tight ends, he could follow tight ends around the field, and he could also cover slot receivers, but it was based on matchups. I rarely ever saw him line up one-on-one on an outside receiver or very fast and shifty smaller receivers. I didn't see those matchups a ton, so they were smart with who you were going up against. But when you watch him, there is a lot of ability and flexibility here because he can take on tight ends, which is tough to find. It's tough to find guys that can, take on tight ends. And what I mean by taking on tight ends, it's not just simply size, because he is a little slim, which is something that kind of works against him at 185. That is a little bit of an issue, but he has good height, he has good length, but he plays with that aggressive style. He will get up and fight you at the line of scrimmage, but then it's about being able to make a tackle. Can you bring that big guy down by yourself in space when you need to? Yes, he can, but again, sometimes being a little bit slim allows him to gain an extra yard or two, but he can tackle. He's a very reliable tackler. So that ability to slide down into man-to-man coverage is huge, and it opens up a world of possibilities for what you can do with him. Now, he does play very physical in man-to-man coverage a lot of times. He likes to get his hands on guys. He likes to get his forearm in them. Kind of like in basketball, right? You get your forearm a little bit in the offensive player in the post. He kind of does that. He gets his forearm in a little bit. He likes to have some contact there to stick with guys. So he's not like a pure cornerback, you can tell. He doesn't really have that background, but he can slide down and play man-to-man coverage, and you can trust him in those situations. You can also trust him in zone 2 because he does read the quarterback's eyes, especially at that strong safety spot when he's coming down. Now, this is just an example of a little slip up here. He's in the slot cornerback position. You can see he kind of just trusts his eyes a little bit too much here. He's got his eyes in the backfield. He gets flat-footed, and before he knows it, he's burnt, and there's no one to help him deep. Didn't happen often. I think he brought it up too when he was asked, what do you think is your best quality? Different roles, the rotations, everything that I can do on the field kind of on the fly. And when you watch him, he can do a lot of different things. That's my point, is he's a jack of all trades because he can switch positions. He can change things up. He can take on multiple different responsibilities, and he can do a lot of things very quickly. He's a very smart, fast processing. And like I said, I can just tell he watches a lot of film. Smart player on the field that has great recognition of what's going on. Then you talk about him in the box. And again, this is something that he can do. I mean, how many guys can do all of this? And I'm talking at a pretty good level. But again, I don't know if there's one spot where I'm saying, yes, this is the part I love, Matt. This will for sure work at the next level. I'm not sure what his role is exactly because there are issues at every spot, but he can do everything. That's the thing. So in the box, he gives you a lot. Good form tackler, plays aggressive. Those two things translate to being a run defender. The issue here is this slim build. Him being 185, it could obviously get bigger. You could probably make him a little bit bigger and he could be more of a box guy if that was the role you wanted him at. Bobby Price is a little bit more size, so he's just a box guy, but Bobby doesn't give you as much as that deep ability. For him, at his size right now, he does give you a little bit of both. You could try to bulk him up a little bit, though, if you want to make him a strictly box type of safety that got in the box all the time. You could do that. But lacking some of that size does mean that picking up blocks can be an issue. They could take him out of the play. His length does help, and he plays aggressive. A lineman, fullbacks, guys like that, there's still a size difference there. And like I said, when he's tackling running backs, he's good form tackler, goes for legs, but sometimes he gets a little too low and he gets on the ankles, and they can, add a couple yards. So they can, they can push him back a little bit. Definitely trust him, especially if he's not getting picked up by a lineman. And he does have good enough length to at least get some separation and shed a little bit, and he will not back down from anybody. But then you can use him as a blitzer. One of my favorite parts of his game is him as a blitzer. I love him getting to the backfield because he's aggressive. His length helps shed some of those running backs, tight ends that try to pick him up, but he's a very good blitzer. And again, he'll finish that play while having that close down speed on mobile quarterback. This is without question one of my favorite plays. Number 24 at the bottom here. So he's going to jump down on this first route where the quarterback is looking. Then he's going to take away the cross route. Then to cap it all off, he finishes the play after the quarterback tries to scramble with the sack. Beautiful. Run reads are questionable. Sometimes it looks good, other times it doesn't. You know, he can get himself out of position here. You can just tell sometimes he's not always the best at reading runs. And a lot of that came on read options. You don't see as much in the NFL, but read options could get him out of position, hold and get pushed out of position. He could open a hole somewhere else where he was supposed to be, because he can get sold on some of those run reads, get out of position. You can tell his run reads are not great. Purely in the box, there's things that would need to improve for that to be his significant role. You would definitely have to make sure that you probably bulk him up a little bit more. He has the length, he has the demeanor, he's a great tackler, but the run reads would also have to be improved on, you know, the instinctual run reads there. But this ability, again, allows you to put him everywhere on the field. There's so many different things that you can do with him. There's very few things that he can't do. Like I mentioned earlier, that he doesn't play well behind passes, you know, playing through receivers, going down, making a play on the football. His length is there, though, to improve. However, when you get him in man-to-man coverage, you can really see the route recognition. He can really recognize things quickly and get himself in position of where he needs to be. And he's awesome with his ball skills and undercutting routes. Just does it so well. I mean, he baits quarterbacks in that way. He's just so good at recognizing what's to come, predicting what's to come. He's predicting a break and he shoots underneath it, and that's when he gets interceptions. He's a very opportunistic player because he can kind of see things before they happen. He's just so quick to react to things, and I think that's what coaches are going to love. His football IQ, to me, seems to be through the roof in coverage. So those little things that he can pick up on, little tells that he can pick up on to get himself in position and make plays, and he always seems to be around the football too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, he wants to be involved in plays, fumble recovery, sacks. I mean, he's done everything you could imagine, but there's not one thing that I'm saying for sure this is going to be his role at the next level. But I think there's so much here to build on. To me, jack of all trades. I don't know if he's a master of one, though. I don't know if someone said, what do you think he's best at? I'm not sure what answer I would give there. I would say he's good at multiple different things at multiple different spots, but I don't know which spot suits him the best. Deep safety, there's things to like. I don't know if that suits him the best, though. Free safety. Strong safety, there's things to like, but strictly strong safety, I like to see him mixed in both. You know, playing him in the box. I think there's some things that would need to be added to make him a pure in the box type of player. But that versatility to play different spots is what the Lions could use. Just look at what the Saints defense had last year in their secondary. Guys that could play free safety, strong safety. Marcus Williams could do both. Then the ability to slide in, play the box, slide in, take on a receiver, take on a tight end. Lions can use guys like that, and then at the same time, play with aggression, play with a chip on your shoulder, and tackle and hit. Off the field, I've only heard good things about him. Character seems to be great as well. I don't see any questions in his character, any flaws, things that are going to show up that are going to concern you. He said his mom and grandma are both still working. You know, they have not retired yet. He said if he won a lottery that he would take care of them. So I think for him, this NFL opportunity is an opportunity for him to try to take care of his mom and his grandma, you know, the people that have not retired yet. So I love his answers. I think personality-wise, you're getting a guy that you're going to love here. Statistically, you're getting a guy that can do everything, special teams, defense. And I think there's just too much here for him not to be someone that intrigues the Lions. Yet, I think there's things that you got to figure out exactly what his best role is. However, there is a role for being able to do everything, especially in a defense that's going to be versatile, that's going to move around players, that can play a lot of defensive backs. When you have a defensive backs coach as your defensive coordinator, these guys know how to get the best out of you. And this dude has a skill set that can be met, that can be used in a lot of different ways with some improvement. He's a young player. He's got a lot of things to improve upon. And Amos is a guy that's here when the season starts. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.